Thank you for coming to the July 1st, 2025 Village Buchanan Board meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So we had already opened up the meeting, and it was at 6:30. We had an exec session. So now we will continue on to the regular meeting. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes. The May 27th, 2025 special meeting, also the workshop meeting, and June 3rd, 2025 board meeting. I don't know if the board is ready to vote on this yet. I have not. We've done something different now. These are our minutes for the May 27th meeting. There's 103 pages, and I have not had the opportunity to go through it. But if the board is ready to vote on that, we could do that. We could move that forward. If not, we could wait until the next meeting. I'm going to leave that up to the board.
I skimmed through it. I
Okay.
believe it accurately recorded the minutes for the meeting.
Yeah,
I can't say I read every, well, 100
Every page, 103 pages, like reading a
pages,
book.
I'm in the same boat as Steve.
Okay, all right.
It
so-
was a lot, but if you want to wait, we can wait for the next meeting so that you
Are
can
you
read them.
comfortable?
It captured the essence of the meeting,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
Anthony, are you comfortable?
I'm
with it?
perfectly comfortable.
Okay.
I'm comfortable, Mayor.
And going forward, is it a requirement to print them all, or could we just have them scanned and emailed to us?
Oh, I can scan them in email. That's not a problem at all. Yes.
Yeah, because I was
Oh,
just
there's a
kidding.
paper
before.
reduction?
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
kidding before the meeting, whatever happened to
Yep.
the Paper Reduction Act. So, yeah. Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of May 27th, special meeting and workshop, and the June 3rd board meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Comments from the floor, agenda items only, and let us remember, it's 3 minutes that we have for the person to speak. I know there is someone here, I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the meeting. If there's, would you like to speak? Yeah, I'm not going to let you wait through the whole meeting. And just as a reminder, 3 minutes. Thank you. Yeah, please come up to the, if you could, come up to the podium. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no. Take your time.
Okay, I have a couple of separate items. They're all pertaining to the same thing. my
I'm sorry,
street.
name and address for the record.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Jean, Jean, last name Rudy, 274 Craft Lane, Buchanan, 10511. I live on the corner, have lived there since my father built a house in the early 50s. I'm not a fan of Buchanan. Oh. I'm not a fan of Buchanan, even though I've lived here that long. They had too many problems, and nothing ever gets solved. Nothing ever gets solved. The one item I have now is something that happened when my father was alive, way back in the early 70s. He had problems getting out of our driveway, either in the garage or on the lawn, because of Con Edison. Whenever they did work on Route 9, they were always on our property, always. So my father came down to Buchanan with one of my brothers. I think my brother from Yorktown. He also worked for the state as a civil engineer. He came down and somebody put up a sign on the pole, telephone pole in front of the house, which worked fine. It was a white sign with black letters, said no parking on this side. It was there from the early 70s till about 3 years ago, when Con Edison was replacing all the telephones for longer, taller poles. And they took that one out, but they didn't put the sign back on. I called here. As usual, nothing was done about it. That would have helped a lot if that sign was there when the damn construction started, because they had nothing but a bunch of problems, those people. Every single day, there's a different problem. It's never without a problem. At the time, and I think I wrote it in the letter, that I never got one of those legal notices, which is supposed to be sent to the people who are concerned and in the area. There's nobody more concerned and nearer them than me. I didn't get that legal notice when they first started. Somebody told me, didn't you get that? I said, no. Somebody knocked on my door, and they also asked me, did I get it? I said, no. There were problems right from the start. At the same time they started, I started having people come to the house as helpers for me. And my then better half, who recently passed away this year, May 2nd, this past May 2nd. He used to go to the front several times to meet the transporter for the wheelchair. And one time he got scared out of his life, and so did the guy picking him up. He said that he went there, and the truck is backing up, never looking what's behind him, and almost hit the van picking Mark up to get in the wheelchair to go to the doctor. And after that, he waited far away. The guy never looked. They used to park halfway down my street when they first started, before the building was even started, when they were taking dirt out of there, apparently. That was one problem. And then when they first started, they were parking in front of my driveway. It's a big street and it's empty. Why they had to park directly in front of a person with common sense would know better than to park in that 20 feet, but not around here. They get dumbbells. When I called here, I spoke to the administrator's office, not to him, and the guy who answered the phone relayed the message and said to me, he said to call the cops. I called the cops. The cop came, a female cop, and she said, oh, you shouldn't call me. You should call the administrator. I said, well, it seems like none of you know what to do. I called him. He tells me to call you, and you're telling me to call. Apparently, nobody's doing what they should be doing in that office, which is nothing new. And so that happened, and nothing was done about it. And we had various problems because we had people coming to help us that I hired starting in September. And that's basically when all the problems over there. And they were complaining about there's no place to park. These people are coming right at us when we're trying to drive and get out of the car. And I said, yep. I said, they wanted me to call, please. I said, why don't you, here's the number, why don't you call them, please? One woman would not come back a second time to work. She said she was petrified on that street. She said she never saw a street as bad as that street any place she worked.
Jean, I'm sorry, you have about another minute. I know you have a lot to say.
Well,
but-
getting back to my better half, he passed away on Friday, May 2nd. I had a stroke 3 days later and was taken to Carmel Hospital. His funeral was on May 9th. Several weeks later, I'm trying to rest. I was told to try to get my blood pressure down. It's kind of hard when you're sitting in your living room trying to get better, drinking a cup of coffee, and the cup of coffee shoots up in the air because my house is shaking violently, which has never shaken that bad in all the years I've lived there. Not once, 8 times I counted. And I called your building inspector. Ha! He's no help at all. Before that happened, the Wednesday before that happened on a Friday, the house shut. On Wednesday, before that happened, I called because they were cutting trees down. They were landing on my property. There's no safety measures. And the guy said, we have approval. I said, yeah, I can imagine. Well, anyway, on Thursday, when I called the cop, he said to me, oh, you shouldn't call me. I guess they don't want anybody to call anybody in Buchanan to solve a problem. Then on Thursday, my helper came, and she's recently out of the hospital, and she's got a handicap sticker. She said she was afraid to get out of the car. So the branches are coming in front of her, branches are falling behind her, and they're laughing. And presently, she's back in the hospital, something different. But anyway, I have a different person who doesn't understand the mess over there either. And then that was Thursday she came. On Fridays when the house shook 8 times around noontime. And I'm supposed to be resting, keep my blood pressure low. Went sky high. And I was in bed for the next 3 days. Isn't that wonderful? Wonderful place I live in. You can't even rest when you're sick. There's a safety hazard there, there's a health hazard there, and no one gives a damn in this damn town. No one gives a damn. I've seen it over and over again. And even people are asking me, don't they do anything? I said, no, they never do.
All right, Jean, thank you, and I'm sorry.
Which cop am I supposed to call?
Call the
Next
chief.
Next
or-
time I'll call
or-
this and
or-
say, you please call them. That's what I'm going to do. And I told them I was going to do that. I just got this week.
All right,
Because I
I'm
can't
sorry
get
for
anybody to
you.
help me with safety issues or health issues in this town.
Well, you should call the chief, and then if you have any construction issues that are going on, you could always call the administrator also. All right, and I'm sorry for your loss, Jean. Okay, any other comments from the floor? No? Okay. Moving on to new business, we have a resolution this evening for the reserve of general funds. I do have a resolution for that. Whereas a bond resolution was adopted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Buchanan, located in the County of Westchester in the state of New York, on April 1st, 2025, for the financing of the costs of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades in and for the village's wastewater plant. Whereas the village hereby determines that it is in the public interest of the village to authorize the financing of the cost of legal counsel and fiscal services and other out-of-pocket expenses for the project, including any applicable incidental costs related thereto, at a total cost not to exceed $50,002, all in accordance with the local finance law. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Buchanan, County of Westchester, State of New York, as follows. Money from the general fund, line A, 1990.460, in the amount of $50,002 and $2 shall be reserved for legal counsel and fiscal services for the project, and upon completion of the project, any remaining money reserved from the general fund shall be released and available for use in accordance with the local finance law. So, on a motion, can I have a second on this?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next is, we're calling a public hearing for several items here. We are amending our code to comply with the DEC rules for permits for our wastewater plant, and so there's several things we have to change in our code. So it's a motion to call for a public hearing on August 5th for local law number 3, adding Chapter 102 entitled Stormwater Illicit Discharge Detection. Local law number 4, amending Chapter 166 entitled Stormwater Management. Local law number 5, amending Chapter 171 entitled Subdivision of Land. And local law number 6, amending Chapter 211 entitled Zoning. So our engineer was here, our village engineer was here last at our workshop and had a discussion about all these different things that we needed to put into the code to comply with the DEC. Any questions? I think George went through it pretty thoroughly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'd like to make a motion call for the public hearing on August 5th. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next is a motion call for a public hearing, also on August 5th, for local law number 7, amending the Chapter 188 for senior exemption. And where did I put you? So, but at the public hearing, we'll discuss it further. I think the maximum amount is, that a person can make is $58,000. Anything over that, they wouldn't be getting any type of an exemption. But we'll go over that again also when we have the public hearing with that. So I'd like to make a motion scheduling the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next is the extension of the 2024 bid for sludge plant removal for an additional year. In Cook's contract, it did have a stipulation that if we wanted to extend it at the same price, it could be extended. So the board is going to extend that today. because it's important to have the sludge moved from the sewer treatment plant. I'd like to make a motion to extend the 2024 bid for sludge plant removal for an additional year. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next is a motion. We have some surplus items, and as always, we really get our money's worth out of things. And we're going to surplus and sell the Roscoe Stack Pack Roller, 1993, the Woodchuck Chipper, and the 1969 International Tractor. So those, like I said, we always get our money's worth out of our equipment. So I'd like to make a motion to deem the following items as surplus: the Roscoe Stack Pack Roller, the 1993 Woodchuck Wood Chipper, and the 1969 International Ford Tractor. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Got a lot of paperwork here tonight. Okay. Next is the justice reports for May 2025. One of the reports is $1,057. The other is $1,218. Oh, and there's another $5,937. Police report?
Police reports they had 42 moving summons, 173 calls, and 6 parking summons. They conducted 27 property checks and had 30 other complaints.
Okay, thank you. Highway report?
Okay, so let's get something done in this village. Let's talk about how much tons of garbage we took out. 112.17 tons of household garbage, 3.0 tons of metal, and 7 TVs and 2 monitors. The highway department painted lines in the street with their new painter, their new mobile painter. They put up the no parking signs from here to corner. And I believe they were very busy getting the pool ready for this summer. We had a couple issues with that. They did some crack sealing in the tennis courts to get ready for camp, and they're keeping up with the village as usual.
And, I want to add on to that. I don't know if everybody's seen it, but out by the exit on Tate Avenue there, they did a beautiful job so far. I see the new planter being put together. We had an old planter there. The wood started to rot, and I saw today they were working on it. It looks great. Okay, wastewater. Treated wastewater, 11 million gallons. Sludge removal, 110. And there was a Westchester County Department of Health inspection, no violations reported. Building department.
That would be me. So, looks like we had one court appearance, 10 building permits issued or reviewed, 11 inspections required for newly issued permits, and inspections on file for permits and compliance inspections were 15, certificates of occupancy issued were 12, compliance inspections for resale or refinance 3. Also to report on the EMS construction, that the sidewalk construction is doing very well, and the bellow, the outside vendor is doing the inspections as planned, and that's it.
All right, thanks, Jim. Prosecutors report, none.
Mayor, if I may, on that
Yes,
one, just
sure.
give the board an update on that one. There's no report because the only pending case is 300 Blakely Avenue. There's a number of violations on that property. The prosecutor and Peter attended a court hearing. The property owner did show up. The judge ordered the property owner to let the building inspector into the property to review everything. There was supposed to be a meeting, I think, last week. The property owner canceled the meeting. The prosecutor has been notified of that as well. And if he doesn't allow the building inspector in for the next court proceeding, we're going to ask for the judge to or issue some kind of order to allow him access to the property. So that's the only property really issue that's going on right now, just to let you know. Thank you.
Good, all right. All right, planning report for February 27th, received and filed. Oh, my goodness. So, give me a minute to get my thoughts together here. All right, I had sent to the board, there's a senior forum, sustaining seniors next week from 9:30 to 11:30 at the Town of Cortland Hall. It's sponsored by New York Presbyterian Hospital. We will be putting that on Facebook, letting the seniors know. It seems like a really good program for them. Also, the county, I know, Steve, you had mentioned something about the complete streets.
Yes.
And the deadline for that is September 19th. So maybe at the workshop, the board can discuss that. You've looked into that, right?
I did look
Okay.
into it. I think Marcus had also looked
yeah.
into it and spoke to the grant writer.
Yeah, the grant writer, asked the grant writer if he's had experience with it, if he has some ideas, and come back to the board with a report. So
here.
soon I hear back from the grant writer, I'll follow up with Steve.
Yeah, it's
Oh, that's right,
15,
we are here.
yeah,
We are
$15 million available from Westchester County.
That's right, 'cause I
And
checked it
it's
all.
prioritizing pedestrians.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thanks.
The other thing is, you mentioned the just transition reuse plan.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was applicable to us or not. Right.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss that further. If not, have NYSER to come in, who's sponsoring it. It's kind of, the way I looked at it, it's more for gas plants when they close. I don't know if nuclear is included, but you have to be very careful because what they're looking for is renewables. So they're looking for, once you close a gas plant, they're looking more for the renewables, and that's something that's, I know the anti-nuclear people want to put solar panels there, but that would be a huge mistake to give that property away and have it fenced in once again just for solar. You see a lot in the paper about what's going on with nuclear in New York, Albany, the Albany area. They're using AI more and more now. There's electric cars. I think they're still demanding in New York State that by 2035, all vehicles will be electric. So not sure where they're getting all the electric from, but, that's not our problem. So what I'd like to do, and I will send it to the board, I will get approval for the letter, sending a letter to the governor expressing our interest in having SMRs or nuclear power back at Indian Point. Kind of makes sense. We have all the infrastructure across the street from there. I did speak to the governor in February at the legislative conference and told her where I was from and that we were very interested in nuclear in Buchanan again. So I don't know. We got to keep Buchanan on the radar with the governor.
Mayor, and an update on that as well,
Sure.
just to let everybody know, if nobody's seen it, 3 Mile Island is reopening.
Yes.
For Microsoft is actually purchasing most electricity for their data center. So even 3 Mile Island, that had a meltdown, is reopening. And we had no incidents here, and they're not considering opening here. So it's very interesting how nuclear plants are reopening all over again.
Well, you know how we had a very strong anti-nuclear group here, and we had a governor at the time that was determined to close down Indian Point, and he did succeed with that. So, it's a long road ahead. The SMRs don't go commercially until 2030, but that's our only opportunity at this point are the SMRs. And I've said before, Unit 2 and 3 are too far gone in the decommissioning. They have segmented the core of the Unit 2 and Unit 3 is where the reactor was, and they segment it and they cut that up underwater, and that's pretty far gone at this point. So we can't restart like they are out in the Midwest. So our only opportunity will be SMRs going forward. I want to thank the Highway Department also. The flags in front of the Village Hall, they have figured out how to put them in the ground so that they're not falling all over, so they did a great job. I'd like to see, and we discussed this before, a field of flags for Veterans Day. And I know, Dan, you mentioned something you wanted to be involved in that.
Yes.
So what we need to do, we need to find, ask around plaques. So the flags will be there. And then we need to find a company that will produce plaques with the veteran's name and their year of service and what branch of service they were in. And then on different holidays like Memorial Day, July 4th, Veterans Day, whatever holidays, we want to put those out. We can have a field of flags right next to Village Hall where the gazebo is in that area. So Dan, I will keep you in the loop on that.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? A lot going on. So the next workshop, I'd like to have a discussion with the board. I'm going to try to meet with the rec committee before that, a discussion on the Lens Cove field, and also possible, we've discussed all this before, and possible playground, installing another playground or upgrading the playground behind the highway, or food for thought, maybe something at Lens Cove. But that's something we'll have a discussion about. And the only other thing I have is Happy Birthday, America. And remember why we celebrate this holiday. It's celebrating our wonderful and great country. And also, I want to mention to the residents, we do this every year. For those that don't want to go into Peekskill to see the fireworks, a lot of us meet over at Lens Cove, and we can see the fireworks pretty well over there, the Peekskill fireworks. So anybody that wants to come on over and enjoy the fireworks from there. Anthony, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, not much. Just happy 4th of July, everybody. And yeah, there was a Peekskill fireworks show. Eileen, there you have it. You're welcome.
Oh, what time? What time does it start?
It's a good question.
When it gets dark, right?
When I'm ready. How about that?
Okay, there you go.
No, it's scheduled for 9:15, I believe. The other things I have, we discussed the circle with the wall and everything. I don't know if we want to get into that now. It's not a big deal. You reached out to your contractor friend. He actually reached out to me today. You sent me some pictures of original construction, some pictures of, just so everybody knows what's going on out there. I mean, I didn't realize this was in depth already. There's some excavation, hand excavation behind the wall. We're trying to repair drainage. Is that what's going on? Yeah, okay. Initially, I thought there was drainage already in the original application of the construction. There is not. And there's not in anything that was approved by George. So I was told there was, and there's not. And it doesn't show it on the drawing. It doesn't show it in the specs. It doesn't show it in the bid sheet. So I don't know if it's there or not. And I recommend that if you want to go forward and the board wants to go forward with this, that before we spend a ton of money figuring out what was done and what wasn't done, that maybe our DPW does some exploratory excavation out there and figures this out on our own, because, I mean, it's just going to add up as we go along. And I think the wall's integrity looks pretty decent at this time. But we need to figure out, so we can get some life out of it. We need to figure out how to keep it that way. Other than that, I don't have much. I just, happy 4th of July.
You had enough.
I had enough, yeah.
Well, Wilda, what do you have for us?
That note, happy 4th of July to everyone. I'd also like to share that I am conducting ESL classes via Zoom on Mondays. So if you know of anyone who's looking to learn English as a second language, it is completely free. All they have to do is email me at the board's address. Thank you. Oh, and I wish all the students a happy and safe and productive summer.
Did the lights just blink?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Well,
We're having a thunderstorm right now.
there's lightning going on.
Yeah. Steve, what do you have for us tonight?
Not much as well. Camp did open up here in the village yesterday, so if anybody's driving in that area during drop-off or pickup, just make sure you take a little extra time, a little extra patience, and wish everybody happy 4th.
Thanks, Steve. Dan, what do you have?
Again, just happy 4th of July to everyone. Just to reiterate, I was talking to Cindy. She was saying that we did get a couple volunteers for the Centennial Committee. So anybody that's interested, and I know we're, 2-3 years out, but it comes quick. So the more the better. So again, if you have an interest in trying to help us with the Centennial Celebration Committee, please contact Cindy in the office, and she'll take your name and contact information. Just to reiterate on what the mayor had said in relation to bringing nuclear back to Buchanan, I would be 1,000% for it. And as far as I'm concerned, when you look at the agreement for the decommissioning, they breached the agreement, in my opinion. Okay, so I think we should push the envelope a little bit on this and see what we can come up with. AI is big. There's a need for electricity. Like you said, there's infrastructure right there. I don't know if we form some kind of exploratory committee or whatever, but I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think, the first step is sending a letter to the governor, and maybe our local elected officials who have not been overly supportive. I'll just say that. Yeah, I think it's going to play out in court. I know Holtec has them in court. I think it's going to play out in court, the breach of the agreement, so. And we just have to wait for that. Hopefully it's soon. Hopefully, well, it might be a couple years yet. Who knows? Stephanie knows the whole court system and that whole adventure. I did forget one thing. Trying to keep everybody in the loop. There's a law firm that was hired and was discussed at the meeting, Westchester Municipal Consortium, so we're part of that. And this is with the Con Ed rate case. So most of the communities in Westchester County joined in to hire an attorney to fight the increases, and there will be hearings in front of the Public Service Commission. There's a process. But some of the talking points, we got a memo just today, is so people who go to the public hearings, here are some of the talking points you should be using. Emphasize how high Con Edison's rates are compared to rates charged in neighboring counties. Raise questions about whether they might be charged more than their neighboring counties. Con Edison's rates are largely based upon the high cost of operating in New York City, and emphasizing how the rates have been increasing much faster than the overall cost of living inflation, the inflation rate. Con Edison's capital expenditures for electric reliability improvements are virtually all within New York City, and Westchester County is going to be picking up that expense if this goes through. The commission should look long and hard at whether Westchester resident rates should be adjusted due to the disparity in investments and reliability of service. So some interesting things here. The proposed increase, their request is $1.6 billion revenue increase, 11.4%. Inflation rate versus the rate increases 2025, and the rate increase was 33.8%, or more than double digits than the GDP or CPI inflation percentages. The next one, the 2026-2028, Con Ed proposes an electric rate cumulative increase of 30% for residential delivery customers, or 27.2% of the total bill. So you can kind of understand why all the municipalities got together. The rates are high as it is. If they get these exorbitant rate increases, that's going to be a whole nother problem. Con Edison's rates are the highest of any regulated utility in New York State, and Con Edison's rates are in the top 10% nationally. Manhattan, 100% of Manhattan's infrastructure is underground, so it increases the reliability, of course. Over 80% of all of New York City is underground. In contrast, Westchester County's 70% of transmission and distribution is aerial. So I just want to make a few more points here. New York City is being a driving force driving force in the high rates for Westchester as compared to surrounding communities. It's time for the PSC to take a close look at the extent to which Westchester customers' high rates compared to neighboring New York State utilities stems from subsidizing New York City residents. As it's been over 15 years since this issue was last raised, the PSC, the Public Service Commission, should direct Con Edison to undertake a study that segregates the cost of serving New York City customers from Westchester customers. So this goes on, and next Tuesday, July 8th, there's a public comment period. If anybody wants more information or this talking points, please contact me. I will email it to you. So they're going to have a public comment proposed on the Con Ed rate changes at the Cortland Town Hall on Tuesday, July 8th at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. And if you feel like going down to the county center on July 9th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So anybody that has an interest in commenting, I also believe you can submit that by email too. So that's all I have. A lot going on. It's the beginning of summer and just lots of stuff going on. Stephanie, do you have anything for us this evening? Okay, Marcus, what do you have for us?
Just to let the board know, we just got informed from Con Edison, they want to replace a gas line on 3rd Street from Henry to Tate. The
That
entire-
whole line? The
Correct.
whole?
The whole gas
Oh,
line wants to
all
be
right.
replaced. So one thing I want to ask, and might be a question for Anthony, for them to repave, should we consider repave? Well, our standard says it'll
Mm-hmm.
be up to the center line. I understand the center line, they have to curb to curb. So I'm saying, if they're in the right side of the lane, question would be, should we ask them to give us the money for repaving and we repave the entire road? That's an option.
What are they giving you now? I mean,
I haven't even had that discussion with them yet.
well, I would ask them to do
Well-
curb to curb, because their restoration crew will come in and do it.
Right, okay.
So I would.
So,
I-
but we
I
have
would-
to change. We have to change our standard,
Yeah.
we have to-
Yeah, our standard
Well,
is
what's
that-
the location of the main is?
I don't know yet.
Well, that's pretty much gonna
That's the
determine
first
what it
email I
is.
received.
Well, it'd be good if it was right in the middle.
Yes, so they have to do the curb
That
to
takes
curb.
care of the problem.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, if it's on the right-hand side or left-hand side of the lane, they'll have to go to the center lane.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I've done it before, we can ask them to give us the money, and then we hire a contractor to do the entire road from curb to curb as an option.
What was the rest of the board think also? You know?
Yeah, I would,
I understand what
Yeah.
Anthony's saying. You're
Yeah.
right. Go curb to curb.
Yep,
I would, before you issued a permit, ask for curb to curb.
okay,
But also, George is going to have to change the standards.
Correct.
Put that in.
Every municipality in this area
Yeah.
goes curb to curb.
okay.
And
That would take care of it.
It just, it goes off the location of the main.
Yes.
And, I mean, not everyone, depending on the amount of work that's done, but I think it goes by linear foot. So,
Okay.
have a discussion with them.
Yep.
I mean, if you get it, either way, get it from them, then get it.
Yep. They haven't given a timeline yet, but I will let you know, I just got the email today.
You know, and that's one of the streets, I think, going forward that we have to repave. So it's like perfect timing that they're repairing that before we do the street and they rip the street up. 'Cause
Right, exactly.
you know that makes me crazy.
Yep.
But a lot of things make me crazy anymore. But that's one of them that just like, why did we just pave that street? So that might be a street next spring we could do. So that is an option also, to get the money and then keep it and use it for that street. But if they can do curb to curb, I
Yes.
think
Yep.
we're all in agreement with
No, so
that.
with that, absolutely.
Well, they're gonna do temporary restoration, which is gonna be ultimately gonna be an issue. So
That's
let their restoration crew come in and do the restoration the right way,
Right, okay,
and which would be curb to curb.
gotcha, okay.
Because temporary restoration is gonna settle over the winter, and we're gonna have to deal with it at that
Then-
time. If we wait till the spring, then you're gonna have potholes.
Right, gotcha, okay.
And
Perfect.
speaking of Con Edison, I see on Second Street, that has still not, they have not restored that.
Yeah, Randy and myself have sent emails to Con Edison about that council. They said they're gonna get on it. I'm still waiting for them to come
Okay.
to it. And it's been a while.
Isn't that their logo? We're on
Oh,
it?
we're on it, yep.
And that was a repair of what? Gas service?
A gas service, years ago, yes.
Yeah.
And it has
And
settled
moving
over time.
forward, the standards, like Teresa said, maybe
Yes.
we should look into changing that before issuing any more permits.
Okay.
And that takes care
Okay.
of it. Good. Any comments from the floor?
Hello, Lisa.
Lisa Lenz, 206 Kate Avenue.
Talk more into the mic.
Into the mic. Better?
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched the workshop meeting last week, and it was kind of a lively discussion. Will the building company that's proposing come back so that the public can ask them questions about them? Will that be happening?
I don't
or-
see why not. Yeah, I don't see why not, because the public really didn't know, it wasn't really
Right.
advertised a lot. And I think, the public should have the opportunity to, we all think they should have the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
So we could schedule that for the workshop if they would come in and do another presentation, because now people will be aware that there is a project that's being considered.
Marco, did they ask? Are they moving forward? Did they ask for any kind of approvals or anything like that?
They
Submitted an
moving forward?
application.
They wanted to see if the village board was open for them to apply for the application, which require public hearings and have discussions. So does the board interest in allow them to move forward
I
with
didn't
the
even know they
application?
submitted an application.
No, no, no.
They
have to
didn't.
make-
Okay.
No, no, no.
I thought.
No,
I'm sorry.
No.
I said, that's why I
Okay.
was questioning, did they submit an application?
No,
Which I do
no.
not believe they did.
Misunderstood you.
Yeah, their concern is they don't want to submit an application, the board is not interested in listening to any kind of proposal. So
Okay.
that's what they were saying.
I know we were supposed to talk amongst ourselves. Would the board, I don't know, would that be
believe
an
that's a
exec
risk we should
session?
have to
Would
take.
that be an exec session thing?
No.
Or can we have that
No.
discussion? Can we have that discussion in
It's not
public
le-
then?
Yeah, public. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I guess the question now is the board interested in moving forward with this, to have them submit an application?
Correct.
Does an application mean that we're bound
No.
to the project?
No.
Absolutely not.
What's the point of the application for those that do not know?
The application was limited to provide studies in regards to some of the questions we raised at the last meeting, environmental. there'll be a-
Escrow, right.
They provide escrow already, for example, but they'll do environmental assessment form that they're required by the state to do that. They'll look at the wetlands, look at the steep slopes. They'll do a zoning text amendment, what zoning they would need, and then the board can decide if they want to move forward with the zoning text amendment or not, and that would be a couple months. And then if you want to move forward with that, there'll be a public hearing process as well, so the public can raise comments as well.
So with the application, we'll have more information,
A lot more information.
and then we can make an informed decision.
Correct. And
So
the
I'm
public
in
have
favor of
opportunity-
that. I'm in favor of
And the
that.
public have opportunity to discuss anything in the public hearing. Exactly.
Sorry,
Bless.
I got
Steve,
tickle in
Steve's
my
an expert
throat.
on this, so Steve, whatever I missed.
No, I think you laid it out perfectly. I think, they're open to submit an application. If they want to submit an application, then it would be before us, then they would come before us. What you heard last week was just a preliminary discussion. They did come before the board previously. We did meet with them in executive session. We did hear their presentation, and the board felt like we should bring this before the public and let the public hear.
Yeah.
Now the public has heard, it's up to them whether they would like to submit an application or not.
And if I may too, just for the public and for to understand, the reason why the executive session, there was also a discussion of selling public land, which is the village land. So the question would
Correct.
be is if the village board is also interested in moving forward with the potential sale of the village land, or not go with the village sale and just go with the property on Broadway. So that it's really a little bit more complicated than that.
Right, so
if you
the
wanted to move
group
forward with
discussed
of them-
both parcel on Broadway that's privately owned, as well as a parcel on Blakely Avenue that's owned by the village that would have to be sold to them by the village.
Okay.
So that's the reason for the executive
I
session.
just like to hear more about it before I
Sure.
make a decision.
I think,
Fair enough.
That's fair enough.
And as far as traffic goes, when Indian Point, I didn't live here when Indian Point was in full swing. There was a lot more traffic along that area, so it wouldn't really be, it may be a change from right now, but it wouldn't be a change from maybe 8 years ago? If,
Teresa, how many employees were there? Do you know?
There were 1,000
Yeah.
employees, so there were 3 shifts,
right,
so.
Well, that's like 9A corridor too, when VA was fully functional. It was,
right.
so.
The BA in the factory, I think you were young, you're old enough, Dan, the factory,
Tensilite.
Tensilite, yeah.
Okay. And my other question is the cell phone tower. Is there any movement on that?
Yeah, interesting. I also forgot to bring that up too. The company that the village is negotiating with, they did a site survey a couple of weeks ago. I forgot to let the board know as well. So they did a site survey to see what the location of the tower would be, which would be behind the baseball field per se in the back. And they're in negotiations. with a carrier, they have to have a signed agreement with a carrier in order to come to front of the village board for a site plan approval and review. So as soon as one of the carriers signs up, they'll be coming in front of the village board.
Okay, because I'm really having trouble with my cell
You're not
phones
the
in my
only
house.
one.
Yeah.
I know, I
Me
know I'm
too,
not.
me too.
The cell
You know, I
service
walk
is
in one
getting
room and
worse.
I lose
Yeah.
people,
It's-
so,
Yeah.
I just had it today working from home.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I just lose the call. It's,
And lately, my internet hasn't even been that
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah.
that's not good.
If you have Wi-Fi at home,
Yeah,
make sure you put Wi-Fi calling on your phone. That will
I
improve.
do, no, that, and it's still.
And it's
cuts
still
out.
bad?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, okay.
You know, thank you. Is there anything else? I'm sorry.
Thank
I
you,
just
Lisa.
wanted to comment on that, because the other company, didn't we have 3 carriers on there? So it should be the same 3 carriers working with this new cell phone company, new
Absolutely.
cell tower.
Absolutely. They're trying
So
to-
hopefully we should have an
Yeah,
answer
that's what
quickly
we're
on
hoping
that.
for. Yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
hoping for it too,
Yeah,
absolutely.
the sooner the better we get the
Yeah.
tower up, believe me.
Any other comments from the floor? No? All right. I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting. Can I have a second?
Can I just make a
Oh,
statement,
sure.
please?
Yeah, yeah.
Where are we? Where are we with this building? I mean, we didn't vote. You asked where we were.
Yeah,
You
they-
want us
We're
to
just
move forward, or do you want?
Gonna
what-
say, give it, we're
Yeah.
okay. Do you
For the
need to do a
application.
vote for the application? I mean,
No, I don't
anybody,
think we need a vote. I
anybody
just-
can apply, you know.
Anybody can apply.
Exactly.
But
Right,
what is,
yeah.
you know, the consensus of the board? Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
I don't want to vote. We don't need a vote.
Right.
But I want to know where we are with this. I mean, Wilda reacted. DEF and everything, all the information. I want to see the data. I want to see where we fall. I'm just as interested as Wilda.
Yeah. Anybody else?
So
Mayor, what
then
do
I
you
guess
think?
they could submit the application and get more information, and the public can participate in those meetings and
Absolutely.
understand, you know, the different things that go involved with this development.
On a separate topic, it might be executive. Are you interested in selling the village property? Should we tell them keep that, not to move forward?
I don't think we need to go into executive session with
Okay.
that.
No,
we
It's-
can
there's-
say it.
There's no
Yeah.
terms being discussed or,
Do you want them to
or
study that
anything
as
like
well?
that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes,
Do you
I
study
would.
both?
They-
That's Blakely.
Like,
Albany Post Road.
No, it'll be a different company. So, yeah.
So there's
No, if
another
they- if they're
project
not
on
interested
Albany
in it,
Post
that's-
Road as you're coming into
Yeah.
the village, under the
Correct.
bridge on the right-hand side. The village owns that property.
They
Right,
did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for those that weren't aware of, you know.
Yeah, so I'm asking the village board if you're interested in them studying that as well, or just the Broadway property.
But that's
both.
part of the deal. So why
Yeah.
not study both of them?
That's what they wanted to make sure. They
Yeah.
don't want to go off beyond what the board would like them to do.
Well, that's what they presented to us, that that's what they would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume that they would want to do it anyway.
Correct. Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
they just want to hear it from us,
Yeah,
that
if
we're
you're not-
okay with it.
Yeah, but if you're
Yeah.
gonna sell the property, then they don't want to even study it. That's the reason why. If you want to not consider selling the property.
I don't think that's even a question.
Okay, cool. Okay.
I mean, it's for sale. They can put their offer in and their plans and do the formal process, and we can
Okay.
go through the process.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, so, any other comments from the floor, any other comments from the board? Oh, comes Eileen.
Now that you brought this project up, who's going to be the board that oversees this? Is the village board going to take this over, like they did with AMS, or is it going to the planning board?
I will tell you personally my thoughts. Sean Murray and I were the 2 board members at the time that felt that the planning board should take over the project. Eileen, you know, I know you're on the planning board. The planning board is trained, has experience, you go to conferences. We do not get that involved in planning. So once again, I would like to see it go to the planning board and go through the process that way.
I'd like to take a poll of each of you.
I don't think a
Trustees.
poll is not.
Well, you could
first-
ask
What
each
do you
person.
want?
I would like to just first clarify something. With the AMS project, they required a text amendment, zone text amendment.
Correct.
The only authorizing body that is allowed to make that change is the village board.
Yes.
In that process, the applicant then was referred back to the planning board for review and comment. They were before the planning board several months, and the planning board had time to review the project, provide comments, and bring it back to the village board. So it was almost, you know, it was the apple, the 2 bites of the apple. So not only did the village board have time to review it, and the public had time to review it before that board, it also went before the planning board.
But ultimately, you had the final say.
We had the final say,
Planning
but it
board
was in.
was only a recommendation. That was all it
Correct.
was. Any authorization from the planning board was taken away from us. And I know that there are people on the planning board right now that are worried about this. They're looking at you, and I'm getting a feeling that you want this project in your purview, not the planning board. You'll ask for a recommendation again, but it just feels that way.
But the planning
just
board,
saying.
in the
Absolutely
AMS
not.
project, the
Absolutely
planning
not.
board had ample time to review, to comment, and the applicant went before the planning board for several months.
Oh, yeah,
So-
I'm
so
not disputing
nobody-
that, Steve. That's not the dispute. The dispute is that the village board is not the planning board. Now, granted, you don't even need a planning board. You
That's
only need a
correct.
zoning board.
Correct.
So I understand that. I just want to know how you guys feel about the planning board having the review of this versus the village board. Danny,
I would want the planning board to have the review of it.
not the recommendation, the review.
Yeah.
Steve,
I haven't made up my mind yet.
Me neither.
Okay.
Me neither.
you haven't made up your
I
mind either.
need, well, you just asked the question. I need to do a little research on that.
Okay, Anthony, you want to think too?
No, I don't have
There's
to
nothing
think.
wrong with
I don't have
thinking.
to think.
No,
I think
there's
that I
nothing
don't
wrong
need
with
another
thinking.
notch
I'd
in my
rather have
belt
you
like
think.
assumed I did, okay, because we want to take this over. That's not why we did it last time. And this will also require a text amendment moving forward as well. Will it not, Marcus?
Yes,
Correct.
those are
So-
2 separate things, though. The
I
village has
understand
to
that.
take over the zoning.
Yes, I understand that. I'm answering the question.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Go ahead. Apologize.
Somebody
I'll have to think
just
about
go.
All right. so
Okay,
think
that's
about
all I
that.
want to know.
There's also things to consider as far as the planning boards are not televised, they're not recorded. The regular village board are not well attended tonight, but there are more well attended. We can advertise more, and like I said, it gives the opportunity for the applicant to go before 2 boards and feedback from all members of both boards. So I think there's something to it, to having 2 layers of review. It's a very important, any project here, there's limited parcels within the village. It's very important to get it right, and I think having more eyes on it is better. That's just my thoughts.
Okay,
Well, the village board can go to the planning board meetings, too, and comment or listen in. and then
But this
have a
provides
discussion.
the applicant the responsibility to present in front of both boards.
But we don't have the training, Steve. We don't have the experience or the training. That's my only thing,
Okay.
you know?
But was anything at the planning board that we agreed on denied? Was there anything that you didn't want us to
Anthony,
do?
I don't remember. I can't.
You don't
tell
remember. So
No,
there was
I don't
nothing that
remember.
major, any
No, I'm not
stipulations
bringing
that
that
we
point-
did
No, I'm
that
not-
you disagreed with?
I'd have to check with the other
That's
members.
a couple years now.
Yeah, I'd have to check with the
Well, I can
members.
remember,
Yeah.
no. I can, from,
Okay.
there was nothing.
All right.
And I didn't go to any of the planning board meetings. I did listen, I did read, go over and see whatever you sent in and whatever was discussed with the board, but there was never any discrepancies. So I don't know why there would be any now, no matter what direction we going, you know? And I'm not looking to take this over. I agree, you guys are trained for this, and I appreciate that, and I don't have a problem with the planning board doing it. I do agree with Steve, too. I think multiple eyes on this and in getting this right, because this is the last major parcel of land that the village of Buchanan has. If we do go in this direction, I agree that we all need to take a good look at it and make sure we get the best bang for our buck.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Steve. The more eyes are better. You know, I'm not disagreeing with that. It was just that when the board took over the AMS, it was, and we gave the recommendations, it was just a point that we did not feel comfortable with that. Whether that was because of lack of training, whether it was because of enthusiasm, whatever the reason was, it didn't make a difference. It was just that the planning board was there for a purpose, and it seemed to be overridden. That's all. So I'm just saying, I don't disagree with you.
But
At all.
but I somewhat take offense for sitting here during that time to think that we overlooked the planning board. We specifically made
No, I
the
didn't say
applicant
that.
go before the planning board and present to you and take into consideration all the recommendations that the planning board had offered to the village board.
I'm not saying you overrode anything necessarily. I'm just saying that it was a planning board venue, and maybe it was the zoning that prompted you to take it over as the village board. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm looking at this project. It's a big project. I don't know what their cutoff is, anything of that nature. And I just wanted to make a comment, that's all.
Yeah. no-
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Eileen.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further comments, I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and have a great Buchanan Day.